Hey everyone, my name is Adam Nguyen and welcome back to my channel where I answer your question with a bit of a self-love and mindfulness spin. This video is going to be more of a chat/podcast style video, so just be aware of that. And today we're going to be talking about overthinking. I had someone ask me, I am an overthinker and I really want to stop it. Do you have any tips? And so today I'm going to go over the 4 things you can do to stop overthinking. So my first tip is to be self-aware. This sounds easy, but it's actually more difficult than you think, but it's such a major component to overcoming this bad habit. So what usually happens when you're overthinking is you start off with a thought, which leads to the next thought and the next and the next. And before you know it, you're feeling negative emotions, you're feeling anxiety, and that's when you realize that you're overthinking. But you're so far invested in this thought that you want to keep going. Right? So what you do instead is to become aware that you're overthinking, shift yourself back to the present moment. What is happening? Start looking around you. Taking a breath. Bring yourself back to the present moment and rewire your brain to the new habit of being mindful and present. And why this is important is think about why you're overthinking. It's usually a fear-based mindset. And when you're running with fear, you're running. But when you're present, you're at peace. And that takes a lot of self-love and mindfulness to do this. And that's why it's difficult. But you don't need to get into the weeds of that. Just remember, notice overthinking, stop, shift, and be. So that's the first tip. Just becoming aware. Because you might become aware that you're doing it a lot. Sometimes we also even get used to the anxiety, and that's our life, right? And that's no way to live. So sometimes just being aware is enough. And remember, you're enough. So my next tip, use your power of thought to your advantage. And what I mean by that is consider the best, worst, and probable outcomes of what could happen. See, our mind naturally does this already, but it's usually thinking about the worst case scenario because it's trying to protect us. And that's understandable, right? But more often than not, we're not thinking about the best probability because sometimes we are afraid that we might get let down or we won't actually achieve it. And we don't want to get our hopes up. But that's no way to live because what we think is the direction that we go in. And so don't go in that negative direction, but use that energy to flow to a more positive state of mind. And so I know from experience, I don't always think about the best case scenario. But when I realized that, that was like a light bulb in my head, and that actually allowed me to change this mindset. So first of all, think, what is the best case scenario for this outcome? Think about it, visualize it, embody it, and really feel it, internalize it, because that's really where you want to go. What is the worst case scenario, and will you survive? The answer is yes. You will survive. It might not feel good, but you're strong, and you deserve the best, and you will survive. So remember that, and consider that. Now finally consider the probable outcome, which is going to be somewhere in between the other two, right? My third tip is to ask yourself why. Why are you having these thoughts? And also, what is the evidence that these thoughts are true? Oftentimes when we're thinking about something and we're ruminating about it, we're really afraid of what's going to happen. So ask yourself, why are you having this thought? Where did it come from? Is this your thought, or is this a thought from society? From your family, from your friends, things outside of you. When you start to process that and you think about it and also internalize that maybe a lot of these thoughts aren't yours, you can separate yourself from it, right? And that brings clarity. And if you can ask yourself, what is the evidence of this? It might also give yourself clarity. For instance, I'm not good enough. What's the evidence that I'm not good enough? Find evidence that you are good enough. Or who told me I wasn't good enough? Was it myself? Okay. Why do I think that? Where did this come from? Go down the rabbit holes of why. And when you do that, you start discovering yourself. And that's so important because it ties back to awareness. And it helps us reframe, refocus, and move forward. So my final tip is visualize your thought as a cloud. You're like, what are you talking about? I'm a very visual person, and I like to meditate. And a meditation that has helped me is visualizing my thought as a cloud. Let's just say you're laying on, the grass, looking up at the sky, right? And clouds are just floating by. Imagine the clouds are your thought. Just let them float by. But sometimes when we overthink, it's when we're fixated on a cloud or a thought and we just focus on it, right? But don't do that. Just allow your thoughts to be like clouds floating by. So what you do is you close your eyes, take a deep breath in, breathe out, and then next visualize cloud, and that is the embodiment of your thoughts. So that anxiety that you're feeling from overthinking, put that feeling in that cloud. So you breathe in the cloud and the thought, and then you breathe out the cloud and the thought. And what that looks like is here. Imagine this cup is the cloud or the thought, right? So I'm breathing in the cloud and thoughts in my body and breathing out the cloud and thought out of my body. And do that as many times as you need to come back to the present moment, to recenter yourself, right? Breathe in that thought and breathe out that thought. See, that is kind of getting your body used to the idea of letting things flow, letting thoughts flow, letting energy flow, and bringing yourself back to the present moment, which, like in awareness, is so important for breaking this habit. That's all I have for you today. I want to say thank you for hanging out with me. If you found this video to be helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Also, leave in the comment section which tip you found to be the most helpful and which one you're going to try first. Until next time, remember to love yourself first and others equally. Take care. Mwah.